there. Today's Wednesday, April the 22nd. Welcome back to some more Because of Winn-Dixie. Hope you had a good day yesterday. We're able to get all of your schoolwork done in a quick amount of time. It didn't take you too long. Hope you're really enjoying this story. There's such easy chapters to read, but they have so much information in all of them. Last night you had to read chapter 15. And you had to turn to page 15. Well, let's first, wait, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Let me talk about the chapter a little bit. In chapter 15, we find that Winn-Dixie and Opal, they go to the library, which we've already established is part of their daily routine, something that they do. And Miss Franny tells stories or reads stories to them all the time. But every once in a while, she has this little fit. Not quite sure what it is, but she starts shaking. And it's really interesting that when she starts doing that, what does Winn-Dixie do? He gets up, right? And he goes and sits beside her and tries to comfort her the only way a dog could do it. But he could sense something is up. And so he stayed with her till she stopped shaking. He'd lick her hand and he'd go back down to sleeping through the rest of the story. And Opal, that made Opal kind of think, because she would watch this happen. You know, Gloria has all those bottles hanging, and they would make noises, and she kind of, you know, wanted to help her a little bit, and she thought about a comment she made that she couldn't read because she couldn't see well enough to read anymore. And she started thinking about, maybe I could read her a book and get a story. So she wanted to do that. And then she also talked about Winn-Dixie with the thunderstorms. In Florida, we have thunderstorms. And as you know, sometimes they're really kind of scary because we'll have great weather and all of a sudden the storm blows in and it's thundering and lightning and then it goes away. But there could be a lot of them in the springtime or different times of the year. And so she says during that summer there were lots of thunderstorms. You remember the one she described where Winn-Dixie went flying from one end of the house to the other and just kind of crazed until it was over with. So she talks about that and how she tries to hold on to him tight because she's afraid he'll escape if there's a thunderstorm, which may be why he was out on his own, because he ran away and then got so far away he couldn't find his way back home. I don't know. But anyway, you know, she comforted him during those times as well. And so on page 15, we had to summarize this chapter. And so we find in the library that Winn-Dixie is comforting Miss Franny. Opal wants to comfort Gloria by getting a story and reading to her, and she comforts Winn-Dixie during the story. So they're all in different ways helping one another. So I put, for my summary, helping others, and then I put a little note so I wouldn't forget. I put Winn-Dixie storms, Gloria the wind and the bottles, and Miss Franny shakes. And so I wrote those things all down as my summary, because when I said helping others, and if I go back 5 chapters later, I'm like, I don't remember what helping others meant. So not complete sentences, just made notes so that I could remember, because you're going to need that at the end. You need to remember why you wrote what you did. So if your summary doesn't remind you of the chapter, then you have to put something on there that does remind you. Okay, now we've done all 5 chapters in this section, chapter 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So chapter 11 was a story about the thunderstorm for Winn-Dixie. Her first day at work. She tells us about her daily routine, going to work, the library, and then going to Gloria's. And then we have a chapter with Gloria, and she shows her all the bottles. And then this one about helping others. And I had a hard time summarizing those 5 chapters. I'm like, what can I say that will help me with this? And I sat there for a long time trying to figure it out. Because guess what? I don't have the answers to all these kind of things, because it's your opinion, your ideas, and your thoughts. And it doesn't have to be the same as mine. It just needs to reflect the 5 chapters. And remember, I'm coming from the perspective as an adult, and you are coming from a 4th grader. I have more experience. I look at things a little different than you, so that's why mine could be different than yours. But I thought about it, and I put more than an acquaintance. Or I made another note, maybe you could make it learning about others. Because if you think about it, you know, she's learning about Winn-Dixie and how to help him in the storms. When she goes to work, she learns a little bit more about Otis. When she goes to the library, she learns more and more about Miss Franny. When she goes, the more she goes to talk to Gloria, the more that she learns. So they're not just an acquaintance. An acquaintance is someone you go, oh, hey, how are you, as you kind of pass, but you don't really know anything about that person. If I ask you, give me 10 things you know about them just real quick, you'd probably go, that's going to be your acquaintance. So she's getting this more than acquaintance, or learning about each other, or, you know, something like that. That's what I put on there. So you have to have that. The next one says, what is your favorite part in this section of the book? Your part might be different. I'm going to tell you what my favorite part was, though. I liked it in chapter 14, when Gloria tells Opal not to judge others by their past. So important in our lives today that we don't keep it hanging over their head. Jesus doesn't. If we've asked him to forgive us, it's gone into the sea of forgetfulness. We don't have to carry that burden anymore and feel bad for it. And I think if Jesus could do that, then we should practice doing that as well. Okay, you should have any new words that you saw in the story listed down. You have to write them as you read them, or you won't remember them. And then draw a picture of something that you think represents this section. I had a hard time with that too, because I put more than an acquaintance. So how do I describe in a picture a friend? And I feel like I failed on this one. But, you know, they talked about the thunderstorms and the wind blowing in a couple of chapters. So I put my cloud with thunderbolts coming down. And I drew a picture of the tree kind of blowing. Okay, I'm going to show you my terrible picture. Just because. Don't make one like it, okay? Please do better than Mrs. Dixon did. Use your creativity. I struggled with that one. Let's flip back to 13. So you were supposed to match up which word, and we went over that the other day. Making sentences, you have to write a sentence using those words. Make sure you have a complete sentence. Remember capital letter, punctuation at the end. Don't make them long, make them short. I like long. On page 14, we did both multiple choices. We answered question 3 in chapter 11, question 4 in chapter 14, and you crossed out a little extra at the bottom. So that finishes with these pages. Okay, tonight, this is what I want you today. Sorry, I always say tonight. I want you to work on chapter 16. Read chapter 16. Turn to page 17. Let's do that right now. I'm going to lay this down. Page 17. That is matching, match up. I want you to match those words to the definitions. If you don't know what they are, you need to look them up. And then on page 19, turn to page 19 right now. The second part is what happens in these chapters. Put on each line 16, 17, 18, and 19, one on each line. So after you finish reading, you're going to write your summary for chapter 16. If you found any new words, put them at the bottom of the page. Also, I don't have it on here, but on page 18, I want you to answer number 1. All right? So enjoy your story, and I will talk with you tomorrow.